episode of Bandwagon. I'm your host, Eric Nelson. We got episode 2 in the books. I want to thank Owen Justice for his time and his talent to make that episode possible. Also need to take a moment to thank Skinny Webb. He's providing us the studio space and he's doing the overall production of Bandwagon. So without him, it wouldn't be possible either. So I said we got episode 2 in the books. We're on episode 3. I think it's safe to say it's becoming a revolution at this point after 3. So, but tonight's guest is very near and dear to me. I've known him now for over 20 years. He's been writing music and performing in the area, in the Omaha area, surrounding area, during that time. And fortunate enough, I've been able to join you for a few of those years in Pony Creek.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, with no further ado, I got Ryan Osbar, and as I said, of Pony Creek.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah.
I would like to thank Skinny's Couch. It is also a very nice place to stage this, right?
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is. I don't see stains on it. It looks well kept. I think it's the perfect couch.
Didn't come
You never
from
know.
outside.
You never know.
Outdoors.
In a recording studio, you never know what might
That's
be on
true.
the couch. So, crazy musicians running around. So, but anyway, as I've said, it's good to hang out with you again, and we just did some hanging out Friday night at the Real Zebo show.
Yep.
Their album release at the Slowdown in Omaha. And
awesome show for those kids.
my God, it was. And hey, I'm rocking. I got my Distressed Damsels shirt on. They were one of the opening acts.
Yeah,
and Public Figure. And I know we were talking that night about how great it is to see all the young talent coming up. That's as exciting as doing it ourselves.
Yeah.
So
it's exciting for me to see, the younger generation come up, kind of what I remember, like when I was coming up. And the crazy thing, like with me and you, like, we knew each other like in 2000, 2001 when I was in a band called Goodspeed. And you had come out to a show at the Exchange.
Yep.
And so we knew each other. What's crazy, we've known each other for 20 years, but we've only played with each other probably the last 6 or 7, right?
Yeah.
So we were kind of just doing kind of different kind of sounds and genres and stuff like that. And so, I'm just fortunate to be able to get to play with you, and glad that you had me on here. So.
Well, yeah, man, yeah, and that's one of the things that always stuck with me is, back when you're talking about that, when you were in Goodspeed, and I was in, even though our styles, because I was more into, I think I was doing solo acoustic stuff, maybe sitting in with some people here and there, but I was more of a folk bluesy rock guy. But I remember even back then when we first started hanging out and getting to know each other, you said someday we're going to record on an album together. And
here it is.
Fast forward to 2015 and you sent me some demos and I laid down some leads, and we've been in the studio recording and sharing the stage ever since, and it's been awesome.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, what the craziest thing was, is I don't think that I actually heard you play electric guitar for the first 15 years.
Right? A lot of people don't think
you were strictly just doing like acoustic almost everywhere. Like I only saw you play your dove, you know? And so when I actually saw you play electric guitar, it was just like it was eye-opening for me, right? Because I was like, this is something that I could, write with and play with, and so I think it's pretty awesome.
Well, eventually our styles they did
kind of come together, right?
And so then I'm gonna go ahead and ask then.
Yeah.
So you were doing more of the alternative indie thing. I was doing more of the folk pop, rock thing.
Right.
Again, our styles ended up coming together. But what prompted you or inspired you to change your style?
There was a few things. For me personally, I kind of gave up music for a while when I moved to Denver with me and Amber, and I just didn't want to keep doing what we were doing or what I was doing at the time. A lot of my friends were growing up, and hard rock music wasn't exactly their thing anymore, or they wanted to go out to something that was a little more danceable or digestible, I guess. So I was kind of burnt out on kind of writing like garage rock, hard rock music. And part of the reason is Dan Olson from Sack of Lions. He was starting to kind of get off and taking off on his own trajectory. And I wanted to play with Dan. When I came back, we wanted to hang out, play shows, do things like that, and we did that. And that was really awesome. So that was a big influence on me kind of changing my direction. And then, like I said, also like seeing you play guitar, right? And knowing like just how you kind of have that country twang and just kind of a ability to write kind of that sugar on top of kind of folk music was like I said, it was like my mind, especially in like around 2015, 2016, my mind was just going around faster than I could actually write songs.
Yeah, you were cranking them
and
out.
I was, you know, and that's was like, it just opened a new door for me, right? And so that was really exciting for me.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Dan Olson. I met Dan at your wedding. I officiated, when I say near and dear, I officiated him and his wife Amber's wedding. And fun fact, his wife Amber and my wife Crystal, who may not know this, they're cousins. So over the 20 plus years that we've known each other, we've had plenty of great laughs, plenty of great family time, lots of good travel, travel, and stage time, of course, but it's the whole package deal. So
that's been the most fun part for me, right? Is just knowing that, like, especially with Pony Creek and knowing all the players that we play with. I've played with Tim for over 20 years. I've played with Travis about as long as I've played with you.
Yeah.
And we just all kind of, you know, are all on the same page. You know what I mean? And so it's just like very easy. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's never forcing it and never like, you know, trying to do something that, you know, we don't think we're capable of doing. You know, it's just always been just so easy. Yeah. You know what I mean? So.
Well, and I attribute a lot of that to because everybody does their homework and prepares.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, no one's showing up, you know, no one wants to be the weak link. So everybody shows up ready to go. So
that's a big thing in the musicians world is you know who does their homework usually, and you know who shows up and knows the material, and the ones that don't stick out pretty quick.
Yeah, it's like professional athletes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, cool. Another fun fact. I did want to bring this up because this is important to the brand of Bandwagon.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan is actually the first person that I ran the concept by.
Yep.
And it was at a band practice before we started. And I said, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. Mm-hmm. But at the time, I was going to call it Multiple Eargasms. And I thought, man, that's such a cool name. And Ryan was agreed. And I was like, well, cool. I want to send out some feelers, some texts, and see who'd be interested and kind of get a feel for how much interest there would be to proceed with it. And I told everybody the concept. And I said, I'm going to call it Multiple Eargasms. And within like a couple minutes of hitting send, I was like, well, maybe I should have researched that.
Yeah.
And I did, and it turns out there's a podcast called Multiple Eargasms. There's a brand of earplugs called Multiple Eargasms.
There's a chain of restaurants in the Northwest.
Is there really?
No, I'm kidding.
Oh God, I was gonna say I quit after those two. There might very well be.
I'm just saying.
But anyway, what is even funnier is like right after I realized this, like literally right after I realized my idea that I just sent out to everybody, you texted me and said, hey, you might want to take a look at that and see if that's being used. And I was like, it is.
Yeah.
But anyway, so anyway, let's get back to the Pony Creek thing.
Yeah.
So how do you think, we talked about kind of how you evolved as an artist and a performer. How do you feel Pony Creek has evolved from the first album to the second album?
I think that it's progressed quite a bit. I purposely don't like to keep making the same thing over and over. And so I've, with each album, tried to come up with kind of like a concept or, and that's been kind of a fun part for me with it, Hearsay was supposed to be kind of our breakup album. And Pony Creek was supposed to be like our hard rock album.
Yeah.
And my first album was supposed to be, hey, I guess I can do a little different type of music kind of album, right? So it's just, as I continue to play with you guys and play with such great musicians, it's just evolved me as well.
Yeah.
It's made me, playing with everybody that plays in Pony Creek has made me want to get better at my own craft. And so I've now taken guitar lessons and just constantly trying to write and do different kind of things because I just don't want to do the same thing over and over, right? Because it's real easy to do that.
Oh, for sure. Oh yeah, I went in a rut for a few years where, man, I would quit writing because it just, everything sounded the exact same. No matter how hard I tried, it all came back to it. And I'm like, I'm done for a while.
Yeah. And that's some people, you got to do that sometime.
Yeah.
But just like, you know, I like working with the people that I know and I'm comfortable with, but then I also like to throw a wrench in that. So like with Jim Holman, who we've worked with and I've worked with on a lot of albums.
Great producer, fantastic
producer. And what's been great about Jim is like he'll do whatever crazy idea I come up with next, right? So I'm like, hey, I want you to go record us live at some shows, or hey, I want to instead of going to the studio that you have access to, let's go to one that you don't.
Yeah.
You know, and let's go in there and see if they'll let you go in there and record us, right? So I mean,
very cool.
Just things like that. And you know, I've enjoyed making our videos. I think that's continuing to evolve. And I really, our last video for It Don't Hurt, which was video animated, right? Done by
that was great.
Eric Post. I really love that. And so just doing creative things with the music and just trying to not always follow the mold that everything else follows.
Yeah, for sure.
And just try to cut our own path. That's always just kind of been my favorite part of doing the band.
Yeah. Right on. Right on. So what's next for Pony Creek? Got any stuff coming up for people to expect?
We do. We do. We're gonna have a new single here hopefully soon. It's pretty much recorded. We're gonna get it mastered, and then still working on a concept album or concept video with hopefully Aaron Gum. But we're gonna come up with a cool little idea to put it out, and we recorded that one with Holman again at a different studio at UNO.
Gotcha.
Which is also a studio that, you know, is not very accessible for a lot of bands right now because it's ran by Jim and he can't just bring anybody in at any time. It's not like for sale. So that was also very interesting. And plus, you know, like working with all of his kids and everything like that in his class was a lot of fun.
That's super cool.
Oh God,
That's such a great idea that they're doing that. That's just perfect.
It's awesome. And for people that don't know, our next single was recorded and at UNO during a class, and so then they all did different mixes, and I got to hear a lot of the different mixes and got to hear like everybody's different take on what the song should be. Yeah. And then it was actually really great because we could just kind of go, oh, I like what that one did, and so let's combine it with that one then put it together. And that's kind of how those songs kind of were produced. So it was pretty neat.
Well, and I've always been really impressed with all the hard work you put in behind the scenes, you know, with the videos and the promotional stuff and all. I mean, you do work really hard at it, and that cuts your joy in half sometimes when you're really putting in all that effort. I mean, you need to put in as much work to get it out there, and but it's paid off because you just got the OEA award. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. We were. This was our 6th straight year being nominated for Outstanding Country by the Omaha Entertainment Awards, and I think it was, what's just kind of crazy to me is I think it was like my 13th or 14th time that I'd been nominated, so I was like a 14-time loser. And I honest to God, I had literally, you know, given up all hope to ever get one of those because. And it wasn't anything I ever tried to do or get. Yeah. But it was always like, oh, it's kind of cool to be recognized. And then that's it's a public vote. And then, you know, but Clarence Tilton usually was winning it, right? And they're awesome.
Oh,
so
heck yeah.
I was always super happy for them. And I was always like, well, fuck, it's going to be hard to ever be better than Clarence Tilton, right? So I got that. And then Sack of Lions was always in our genre as well. I was just like, good Lord. And then Skinny's group, Daniel Wyden, he was in it the year we won. I mean that's just how it is. It was a stacked group, right? For sure. And so like it was just nice to be nominated with our peers and bands that we liked and bands we played with and stuff like that.
Well, that's the most meaningful.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So okay, well, so now you have I'll go back to some of the alternative and some of the indie rock. You have another little side project. I won't say a little side project. I don't know a ton about it, but I know it's called Fountains of Dane.
Yep.
And you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. It's currently in its infancy still, but we've done about 3 to 4 shows in our first year. And that was kind of by design. We were kind of wanting to get all the material done and ready before we started playing out a lot. And now it's progressed, and we have 4.5 hours worth of stuff, right? And
awesome.
And like now, like it's gotten to the point where we learn 3 new songs for each practice, and we play them once, and it's like, well, shit, we could have played that. Right?
Yeah.
You know, we could have played that live on our first run through. So
awesome.
And it's gotten to that point where all the songs just kind of like that, and we really enjoy it, and that is starting to take off a little bit for me.
Right
we're
on.
playing.
I'm excited for you.
We're playing at the Bourbon Theater in November, on
Awesome.
November 22nd,
Yeah.
and then Maloney's Irish Pub, which is
Oh, yeah.
Wendy Maloney's
Yep.
new place in Council Bluffs. We're going to be there on October.
Yeah, I've heard great things about that.
Yeah.
I've heard it's an awesome place.
Yeah, we're going to be there on October 21st. So some of those are starting to come up, and I'm excited to do that, and also continue doing Pony Creek and anything else I can do. You know, we were talking about that on the way. You know, it's like practicing, right?
Yeah.
I get excited to practice. I get excited anytime we get to play. And
Yeah,
so
for sure.
that's the best part, right?
Right on. Well, if there's nothing else that you wanted to discuss, is there anything else, or because if not, we're gonna go ahead and play a song.
Yeah, perfect.
What song do you want to play first?
Well, I like Country Enough. I think that's
Okay,
good
let's
too.
do Country Enough.
Yeah.
We'll stick around. We're gonna do Country Enough, and thank you to Ryan Osbar of Pony Creek for joining us today for
Thanks for
episode 3. Yep, you bet, buddy. Looking forward to seeing you again.
Thanks. Well, I came from a small town, had the wrong last name, never had a fancy car or house or expensive things. Now I've got to get a job, I've got to get paid, I've got to get out of this town, gotta find my way. So I'll sing these songs so you sing along. Every word is true. Girl, ain't that country enough for you? So I sing these words so they'll be heard. I have paid my dues. Girl, ain't that country enough for you? Well, my daddy drove a truck, worked on farms and shot at bucks. 18 wheels didn't pay me the bills, but it got us through. Now I ain't saying I had it rough. Growing up where I did, you had to be tough. Girl, ain't that country enough for you? make it real. And if I change my postal code, do you think you'll sell? Well, I came from a small town, had the wrong last name, never had a fancy car, house, or expensive things. Now I'm singing this song. I know my roots. Girl,